shot sometime next year. Ginny Coselda, Fox News.
That doesn't sound like good news, though. I mean, they're starting to
marketing.
They're marketing this. Hey, get your flu shot because you need it. And by the way, we're going to throw in this experimental gene therapy on top of it.
So, yeah, there's a lot of questions being answered 4 years later about the modified RNA shots from Moderna. And so if the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals out of California is saying, we're not convinced it is a vaccine. We believe, and if it's not a vaccine and it's supposed to just decrease symptoms, then that's not a vaccine, that's a therapeutic. They're still trying to figure this out. We have no long-term safety data. That's number 1, 2, and 3 on the list. And by the way, the Moderna vaccine has SM-102, a chemical, according to the OSHA safety paper, says not for human or veterinary use. So all the humans that I know, just be aware that SM-102, a lipid nanoparticle component made by the chemical company, the OSHA paper, OSHA, Occupational Safety and Health Administration, the OSHA safety data sheet says not for human or veterinary use. That might be relevant. And finally, the pseudouridine is artificial, synthetic, and made, never been found in RNA before these shots. It's not in nature, never will be. It's not a part of RNA of any kind, messenger RNA or any other RNA, until these experimental shots came out. And its OSHA safety paper says not for human or veterinary use for pseudouridine. So, I mean, there's a lot of concerns, and I'm not the only one that's raised these alarms, but the bottom line is the fact. Pseudouridine, not for human or veterinary use, according to the OSHA safety paper, in every single one of these Moderna shots is going to have pseudouridine. So there's lots of concerns. I wouldn't cut in line. That's the bottom line.
Doctor,
we're not helpless or hopeless ever. We're not forced into a corner. We don't have to do something out of fear, and don't be bullied, and we don't need to cut in line for these shots.
Dr. Bartlett, you bring that up, but there's a lot of older Americans, the elderly, that go to their doctor, and they're convinced by their doctor to take, you need this flu shot. You need this flu shot. And there's the same kind of pressure they posted with, you need this COVID shot. And they need to be informed that this is happening to them.
Right. And if there's an older American listening right now, get your doctor to call in when I'm on the radio tomorrow and talk to me, and I'll explain to that doctor that it has pseudouridine and SM-102 in the Moderna shots, and those, according to the OSHA safety paper, are not for human or veterinary use. So you can't even give that to a lab rat right now legally.
Oh, wow. I did see a meme on X earlier this weekend. It had a picture of Anthony Fauci, and it said, I feel the same way. You're
all beagles to me.
You're all beagles to me. And for those of you who don't know, Anthony Fauci, his research used beagles because they don't cry out in pain. They can take a lot of abuse, and they don't cry out. And, I mean, seriously, they used us as the test guinea pigs on this last vaccine. We were the animals that they used it on.
He literally had beagles strapped down with their heads in plastic boxes filled with flesh-eating fleas to watch the process and see how much the dogs could endure. And does that sound like Nazi Germany? It does to me.
Well, that's why I call him Little Mingala, because the things this guy has done, he needs to be held accountable for.
Yeah, and so quickly we forget. I mean, it's certainly forgotten by the mainstream media on purpose real quick, but we can't forget that that's the guy that was the spokesman for these modified RNA shots. I call them modified RNA because that's really what they are. I wonder if that's where they got the name Moderna when you write it down. Modified RNA, not mRNA. mRNA and transfer RNA, all RNAs have uridine, not pseudouridine. God made us with uridine. Do you want to put something in your child that is not real RNA using uridine like God created RNA to be. We're seeing all kinds of trouble. There's frame shifting, where the modified RNA being read by the ribosomes to say what kind of protein to make skips. It misreads it. It misreads the code and makes abnormal proteins 10% of the time. That, I believe, is a major reason why you have dozens of autoimmune disorders and AIDS cancer on the list associated with Pfizer's COVID shot. And that was what information we received from the FDA after a federal judge forced them to in court order.
Dr. Bartlett, I had in the news this morning that a 31-year-old football player, now, I don't know how old Tom Brady is, but he's a lot older than 31. 31-year-old football player said he had a health scare, and I'm not connecting the two, but you almost have to. Whenever I read somebody died suddenly and they were young, I go, I wonder if, that you follow that up with the sentence, if they got the jab. And this guy is 31 years old, said he had a horrible health scare, and he's retiring from football at 31 years of age. I mean, I think, and we've heard from NFL players said they're terrified. They're terrified that something's going to happen to them while they're on the field or when they're off the field, because they were all forced, basically, to take the jab.
Yeah, so the test we do, I work in the emergency room, of course, and I'm at Advanced Odessa Hospital ER, which is at 900 East 4th. I'm the medical director of the ER, but which is open 24/7. But the test that is done at every ER around the world to see if someone has heart cells dying that moment is called troponin. And troponin is only it's found in living heart cells. If heart cells die and explode, they spill troponin in the bloodstream. And in Switzerland, and the University of Basel, they found that on the RNA shots, the modified RNA shots, that they cause troponin to be elevated 3.8% of the time. That's almost, that's 3 to 4 out of 100 people are going to have evidence of heart cells dying, being killed after these shots. Mm-hmm. Nobody's being told that. It's tied to the fact that there's about a dozen cardiac conditions that are listed by Pfizer associated with their shots. Nobody's being told that. Mm-hmm. And you see that meme that had a grandfather sitting around a campfire with a bunch of little kids, because back in my day, people died unsuddenly.
Right. Man. There is hope out there, though, folks. Some legislators, some government people in the states are waking up to the fact that this was a horrible, horrible thing to do. And Oklahoma, we can talk about Oklahoma right quick. They just passed something, didn't they, Dr. Bartlett?
Yes, the governor of Oklahoma, who I spoke to at the beginning of COVID about the way to treat it, and spoke with him, the lieutenant governor, and the governor just signed into law last week that the WEF, the World Economic Forum, and the WHO will have no say in Oklahoma. They will not interfere with the affairs of Oklahoma citizens. And so kudos to him. And we also have, in Louisiana, the House of Representatives passed a bill. I think 80% of the representatives passed the bill saying the WHO and the WEF will have no say in Louisiana. We need that in Texas.
Yeah, we do. You took a trip up to Ohio recently. How did that work?
Well, so far so good. They also have House Bill 73 that passed overwhelmingly in the House of Representatives, saying that the WHO will have no say in healthcare in Ohio. And so we've got this movement in Ohio. We have it in Louisiana. Oklahoma made it law last week. We need it in Texas, that you won't have Dr. Tedros with the World Health Organization, which is an anti-American organization branch of the UN. He's not a doctor, and not a medical doctor, not a nurse, not a chiropractor, not a pharmacist, not an occupational therapist, not a physical therapist. Has has never treated a patient because he's not licensed to treat a patient, has never had a license in the United States, not an American. You don't want him dictating what's going to happen to you and your children as far as health care. And so that's why these laws are being passed in other states.
Now, Dr. Bartlett, going back to this Ninth Circuit decision, saying this is a therapy, these shots were a therapy, but they were listed as a vaccine, but that's not, and it's a great ruling, which opens up litigation. People can now sue these pharmaceutical companies for false claims. Now, that brings me back to Texas, because Ken Paxton has a lawsuit basically saying the same thing, correct?
Yes, his lawsuit specifically says that they lied about the effectiveness of the shots. Well, you don't have to be a doctor you just have to watch TV over the last 4 years to see the experts changing their story and their promises over time. They first said the shots. We had I believe it was the Pfizer CEO saying that no variant can escape their shots, the effectiveness of their shots. And then there was 95% effectiveness that was reported. That was after 100% effectiveness. And so we're talking about two things. Safe and effective is what they're promoting. That's their marketing. And Ken Paxton says they lied about the effectiveness. They've been moving the goalposts like we don't have a brain, telling us that if you get the shot, you won't get COVID. Then they said if you get the shot, you will get COVID, but you won't spread it. And then they said if you get the shot, well, you will spread it, and you will get it, but you won't get deathly sick and die. And then they said, well, that's not true either. 3/4 of the people who were in the hospital 2 years ago in Ontario, Canada, had been vaccinated. And so when you have 3/4 of the people in the hospital vaccinated that are diagnosed with COVID, then maybe it didn't work. And so his lawsuit is saying they lied about the effectiveness. That's against the law, and I'm pulling for him.
Yeah, I am too. I think that people find out that they've been lied to. These people won't be able to be pharmaceutical representatives and other people that pushed this fake hoax on us and did damage to our families and friends and killed people are held accountable. We should never forget or forgive what they did.
They made a lot of money. Let's just say Pfizer did make a killing.
Literally.
Moderna made a killing. Pfizer made a killing. It was $38 billion that Pfizer collected in 2022 alone. And Moderna made a killing. $18.3 billion in 2022 alone with the shots. So Moderna, Bill Gates, hello, enough said.
Well, that, and of course Pfizer, because of it's probably coincidence, Doctor, that Pfizer's coming out with this new vaccine to keep your heart healthy.
Well, Pfizer's CEO is not a medical doctor. They brought him on the news on every mainstream media network promoting the shots to humans. He's not a medical doctor. He got a license in veterinary medicine in Greece. He hasn't treated an animal in 30 years. He did his thesis on how to stop fertility of sheep and goats. Maybe he's not the guy that should be telling us how to take care of our children, and maybe he's not the guy that should tell us what we should do during pregnancy, what we should inject in our bodies during pregnancy.
Well, I totally agree. Dr. Bartlett, anything you want to finish up with?
Well, I believe it was Pfizer, but yes, it was Pfizer. They got sued because components of their medicines had NDMA, which causes cancer. That was kind of buried real quick in mainstream media. I didn't see that get any press.
Well, because they own the media. Everything is sponsored by Pfizer.
Brought to you by Pfizer.
Yeah.
So
Even
brought
sports.
to you by Pfizer, cancer.
Yeah.
For many people.
Well, Dr. Bartlett, I always appreciate your calls. I hope that you'll call back tomorrow because we've got even more news to talk about. But it's been a pleasure having you on the morning show this morning.
Have a great day.
You too, sir. Thanks for calling in. Dr. Richard Bartlett with some great information and some hope for people who've been injured by this Pfizer vaccine after the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals made their ruling. By the way, there's a great article we're going to be talking about. It's an opinion piece from Janice Dean. And we talk about her on the morning show, Janice Dean, the weather machine for Fox. In-laws put in an old folks' home, and then they had COVID patients. Cuomo put COVID patients in with people who didn't have any business having COVID patients put in there with them, and they lost them. We'll be talking about that coming up in just a little